Pleased to bring you greetings of solidarity from the officers and the 3.2 million workers who are members of our Canadian Labour Congress. Et consoeurs et confrères, c'est un honneur pour moi de vous transmettre les salutations des dirigeants et dirigeantes et des 3,2 millions de travailleuses et travailleurs affiliés du Congrès du travail du Canada. Hermanas y hermanos, es un honor para mí traer saludos de solidaridad de los funcionarios y trabajadores de 3.2 millones de afiliados a la Confederación de Trabajo du Canada. I want to bring also my recognition yesterday watching that historic signing of the strategic alliance with Los Mineros to my dear friend and director, Steve Hunt, and my good friend, Ken Newman. Do you know, those guys took me down to Mexico to the convention of the Los Mineros. They also took me to the prison to visit our friend in jail, and we went to a rally at the mine site, and an experience I'll never forget, and an emotion I'll never forget to see that alliance signed. But the hard work of Ken Newman and Steve Hunt to keep Napoleon safe and healthy from the unbelievable oppression that he's receiving from his own government is a testament to our union. And of course, many thanks to my friend Leo Gerard and your executive for inviting me to speak here today. But you know, and given the heat here in Las Vegas, you know, when I stepped out of the airport, I thought for a moment Leo had been serious when he told me to go to hell and he'd buy me a ticket to get there. Anyway, you know, Leo told me to take as long as I want to speak to you today. But I want to remind you, Leo, of what U.S. President Woodrow T. Wilson once said when asked how long it took him to prepare for a speech. He answered, "That depends. If I'm asked to speak for 10 minutes, I need a week. If 15 minutes, I need 3 days. And if in half an hour, I need 2 days." He said, "But if you want me to speak for an hour, I'm ready right now." So, Leo, I'm ready right now to speak. I'm sure you all know the old saying that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But with your convention this week, I think the opposite is true. What happens in Vegas this week needs to be spread all over the United States and Canada. Workers need to hear our union's message and your convention theme, stand up and fight back, because that's what must happen. We in Canada know all too well about the fight in Wisconsin over fundamental labor rights, about bitter strikes and lockouts because of outrageous employer concession demands on pensions and wages, and about government slashing public services. What's happening here in the U.S. is happening in Canada, and indeed it's happening around the world. It's happening in the United Kingdom, in Greece, and in Spain, and it's an ugly sight. We're in a class war right now, my friends, a war that was declared by the upper class and big business against ordinary working people like us. It's a war, I hate to say, that we're currently losing, but one that we must win if this labor movement is to survive. Why this war has been declared on us is simple, and it goes well beyond the usual reasons of simple corporate greed. No, this is a divisionary war. It's a tactic designed to confuse us, to divide us, and then to conquer us. Do you know, when big business and the right wing tell us America is broke or Canada is broke, it's an outright lie. What they don't tell you is about 400 Americans, rich Americans, own as much combined wealth as half of all Americans, 155 million of them. They don't tell you that the top 1% of Canadians got 1/3 of all the income gains in our country from 1997 to 2007. They never tell you that. Or that the income gap between the richest and the poorest Canadians widened from $92,300 to a staggering $117,500 in 2009. Our countries aren't broke. It's simply that the rich are breaking us. And that's why I think we have to stand up and fight back, as your convention theme says. Do you know, when big business tries to pit union workers against non-union workers, when it tries to encourage private sector unions to oppose public sector workers, then we understand that they're up to no good, don't we? When big business and the right wing try to stand up between us and start a fight between us on Main Street, it's because they don't want everyone together fighting Wall Street. But Wall Street is where the real problem lies, my friends, not Main Street. Tell me this, do you remember when steelworkers crashed the stock market? Or when we took $1 billion in bonuses and we killed millions of jobs and trashed the world's economy and at the same time paid no taxes? Do you remember when a teacher or a nurse or a postal worker or librarians or social workers or airline employees did all that? I don't either. But our opponents have managed to turn those tables and have workers fighting with each other for that shrinking slice of the pie while they take all the money in the economy for themselves. Is it any wonder that your convention theme says that it's time to stand up and fight back? When you add up all the attacks on workers, the sad truth of the matter is that Canadians and Americans are being played with a bait and switch game. The gap between the rich and the rest of us continues to widen at a level not seen since the early 1900s. Can you imagine? It's been 30 years, as Rich said too, of wage stagnation for the middle class, while the richest 0.1%, those with annual incomes of $1.5 million, have more than double their share of Canada's wealth. Amazing. How did we get into this situation? More importantly, how do we get out of it? First, we've been framed by our opponents. In the wake of a financial crisis caused by an unregulated market economy, unscrupulous investment scams, greed, and fraud, they saw literally a golden opportunity to roll back those hard-won workers' gains that we achieved at the bargaining table. In Canada, as in the United States, those responsible for the economic crisis are trying to blame the victims. And we simply have to do something about that, my friends. We have to be smarter in fighting these threats to workers and the unions. You know, at our convention, we were told we've got to stop leading with our chins. And I think that's right. When they try to frame us, we have to fight fiction with facts. Fight fiction with facts by using social media tools like Twitter and Facebook and blogs and texting and that internet where they can't filter and edit our comments. Here in the U.S., you have to fight Fox News with the facts. Now, that would confuse them, wouldn't it? But I said at our Canadian Labour Congress convention just this May that Labour can't be playing 8-track tapes and expect to organize workers listening to podcasts on their iPhones. It's true. It's true. We have to be more relevant to our members and indeed to the public. But we have to do more talking to the public through the unfiltered media where our direct message can be heard, because we have a real compelling story to tell about the union advantage. And it's one of the key ways we're going to get this out of this mess, I think, and win the war being waged against us, all of us. But we need to do more than just get our message out. If that were that simple, we could do that. As critical as that is, we need to be a lot more effective in political action. As a Canadian Labour leader, I'm not about to tell anyone in the United States what you need to do, but I'll happily tell you about our political action plans up north. Make no mistake, we now have the most right-wing Conservative government ever in Canadian history in our Parliament. At the Canadian Labour Congress, we'll deal straightforwardly with all governments to advance our agenda. Whoever they are, we have to. It's our job. I might tell you as well, even with a right-wing government in our federal government, we have a card check in our federal labor code still, because they're afraid to take it away from us. But we work directly in our own country with a party formed 50 years ago with our direct participation at the Canadian Labour Congress. That's the New Democratic Party of Canada. I'm proud to tell you as well that the NDP, in our last federal election this spring, became, in the first time in history, Canada's official opposition party, the second largest party in our parliament now. That makes the NDP the government in waiting. It makes the NDP the alternative to those right-wing conservatives. And we're hoping that the NDP will actually win the next national election in 4 years' time. Then you'll see change in our country. But sadly, the dynamic leader, our NDP leader, Jack Layton, has been stricken with cancer and has taken a leave of absence to fight this terrible disease for a second time. And we hope and we pray he soon wins that battle and returns to lead our party to government. But in Canada, we have a very different political environment than you do in the United States. For one thing, corporations, corporate contributions, are not allowed to national political parties. They're completely banned. Only individuals can donate to national political parties. Imagine how that would change the big money control over the political parties here if corporations simply couldn't buy elections and politicians with their money. Imagine what that would do. But as a labor movement, we can still participate in national politics, and we can run education campaigns. We can endorse candidates and mobilize our members, which we do very effectively. Our CLC has run a very successful Better Choice campaign in the last several elections, pointing out the difference between party positions on key labor issues. We don't need to tell people who to vote for. They can see that simply and easily for themselves if they get the information. But we make no secret of our strong support for our political party, the New Democratic Party of Canada. And through political action, we managed to put Labor's agenda into play in the recent national election, forcing every politician to respond to the need for better retirement security and unemployment insurance benefits and much more. Put simply, Canadian workers can't be ignored any longer by political parties because we represent a significant and large segment of Canadian voters, and we continue to make that vote count very strongly in Canada. But we still face challenges ahead. We have to educate our local executives, activists, and steward bodies to talk and engage our members with this message. You need to be proud to belong to a union. People used to look forward to getting union jobs, that getting a union job meant security for life. Today, sadly, workers are afraid to join unions in lots of cases. Their employers tell them they'll leave the country, they'll shut down, it'll put a restriction on their employment. But we need every union member to help get those simple messages across once again in our great countries. That lifting the standard of living is a good thing. That being a union member means earning a decent wage so that we can buy a home, buy a car, raise a family, take a vacation, put our kids through college, and after a lifetime of work, be able to retire with security and dignity. We can't, my friends, as a society, and especially as a labor movement, tell our kids that they don't deserve the same standard of living that we've enjoyed for ourselves. What kind of a world would that be if we accepted such a terrible notion? And yet, that's exactly what big business and the right-wing governments are telling all of us. I say nonsense to them, in a little stronger words if I were allowed. But I'll let Leo do that. But we have to stand up and fight back, as your slogan says. We have to stand back and fight and push back on that agenda. They're not right, they're wrong. They're not in charge, we are. They don't own our countries, we do. And when we stand up and fight back, everybody, we're going to win. And when they do, we'll change this country for the better. Thank you very much.